What is going on, guys? Duranathor here, and today we're back on the Pokemon TCG Live. It has actually been live for a couple days now. If you guys have been playing it, you have noticed that there is, I think, about 6 or 7 cards that are banned because of a, I want to say, like, exploit that people were using, where if the Pokemon had an effect that stopped your opponent's abilities from working, and then you could return it to your hand in some way, it would freeze your opponent for the next turn. So Klefki, for instance, has the ability that stops your opponent's Pokemon have no abilities. So if you have like 2 of them, and you have a way of putting, say, like the first one back into your hand and put the second one up into the active zone, it would just freeze your opponent for the next turn and they couldn't do anything, which essentially gave you an entire turn for free. If you could do it multiple times, I think Spirit Tomb was the one. It had an attack that put it back into your hand. So if you just had 2 Spirit Tombs and just kept switching them, your opponent couldn't do anything and you just won. But today we're going to be looking at the Gardevior EX deck. I will show you the list that I'm using and then jump into a game. In the game, I'll sort of explain how I've been finding it, what I think the whole sort of like purpose for the deck is. We'll start with the Pokemon. I won't do it in this order because we have 3 Confused Ray Rolls and a Memory Skip Rolls. Memory Skip has won me a game before, as my opponent was playing the Lugia V-Star, and I used Memory Skip on his Lugia V-Star, so he couldn't use the 220 attack one. Switched it out, rare candied, then put all of the energy and one hit his Lugia V-Star to take the last 2 prizes. So we got 4 Rolts, 4 Curlier, 2 Shining Arcana Gardevoir, and 2 Gardevoir EX for the Psychic Embrace ability. We have the 1 Cresselia, which removes damage counters, so if you have 5 benched and 1 psychic, you use the Gardevoir EX, put an energy on each, take 120 damage off, put 120 damage anywhere, which can just be a nice finisher for the game. We have Mew, Mysterious Tail. You're searching items quite a bit, and I'll show you why this is very, very handy in a moment. Zacian, another kind of similar to Gardevoir, but it has the Roar of the Sword ability. A little bit more health as well, so it doesn't always get one hit like the Gardevoir does. You have a Manaphy because Wave Veil is just absolutely mandatory, because if your opponent is playing Radiant Greninja and they can knock out, say, a Ralts and a Curlier or 2 Curlier, it can just completely end the game. So Wave Veil, preventing damage done to your bench Pokemon, spot on is what we need. I'll go to energies because it's 11 psychic. You can play more, you can play less. I'm finding 11 is fine, and we have a reversal energy, which is absolutely mad. It just allows your Gardevoir to attack for 150 if you're lower prizes and you put the reversal energy on it. Into the trainers, 4 VIP pass, 4 level ball. You want to get your Ralts and Curliers out as quickly as possible. We have 2 Boss's Orders, simply because the switches can be nice to knock out your opponent's almost knocked out VMAX or V-Star. Is also good if your opponent has got something like the Fusion Strike package and is using the Genesect. You can Boss's Orders up the Genesect and knock it out to take away your opponent's draw power. With 3 rare candy. This is why the Mew is pretty good. There's so many items that we use. It's very handy to just be able to add them to your hand straight away. Curlier is very handy because you can discard and draw, but if you can skip it, just play a Gardevoir. That's what you prefer to do. You have a Pal Pad, simply because you're doing quite a lot of discarding with the Curliers, potentially with the Professor's Research that we play 2 of as well. So the Pal Pad just adds back the trainers that you may be discarding. Artisan, as a stadium, is very nice. It gets you the Ralts out just that little bit quicker. It's also good to get rid of your opponent's stadiums as well, which is why we're playing 2 others. I'll move to them in a sec. 3 Fog Crystal. I think you could play 4, but I'm finding 3 is okay. You see it when you need to. You don't have like five cards in your hand that you already have plays for. Say if you already have like 2 Rolts to play, an Energy and a Trainer, and then you draw the Fog Crystal, and you're like, alright, cool. Don't really need anything now. But always handy just to add an energy for the discard. Path to the Peak. This has won me games before, especially against the Mew Fusion Strike, because you path to the peak and it turns off their Fusion Strike draw. 4 Iono. I think any deck apart from maybe Lost World Toolbox will play 4 Iono. The only reason Lost World Toolbox won't is because they're playing Chorus Experiment. This is, if your opponent has 1 prize card left and you Iono them, you can just pull the game back even if you have 6. I have done that. My opponent had 1 prize and I had 4. I Iono'd. They ended up with 1 card in hand. Didn't do anything that turn. I knocked out Pokemon V, took 2 prizes. They couldn't do anything the next turn. I bossed his orders and knocked out their other V and took my last 2 prizes. So it's just a very, very, very good card. 2 Super Rod. If you are stuck in a situation where you have to discard, or if your opponent does knock out your Zacian, your Gardevoirs, you just need to be able to put them back in the deck. It's not very often you'll put energy back into the deck, but there is the odd time where you want to attach one on the same turn that you're using the Gardevior EX, or maybe you haven't got your EX in play and you want to put some energy back into the deck to hit it with your Shining Arcana. Collapse Stadium is great against the Miraidon Raikou deck. There's a lot of those going around. It's also pretty good against the Fusion Strike Mew, because it stops your opponent from having 6 Pokemon and drawing until they have 6. They have to do it until 5. It's also very handy to get rid of your own Pokemon in play. So if your Gardevoir EX has like 30 HP left and you have 5 bench Pokemon, you collapse Stadium and just get rid of your Gardevoir EX so your opponent doesn't basically get a free prize out of it. And 3 Ultra Ball. You want to just be searching. Ultra Ball's amazing. I'd probably want to play 4, but I think if I did, I'd cut down like a Level Ball, and then, Level Ball is pretty much exactly what you're using Ultra Ball for. There are points where, with this deck, I've had like 14 cards in hand, so you could maybe even like put it down to 2, but it's quite handy to see it towards the beginning. So we will jump into a ranked game. So fingers crossed, we win the coin flip and hit the Zacian on the coin flip. If you go first, you pretty much always want to set up the Zacian to War of the Sword. If you go second, it depends what you come up against. You even have the Zacian in the start. So the whole... Oh, he mulliganed. That's handy. What is he playing? Hasn't really given us too much information of what he's playing. You know what the Slowbro does. Okay. So the whole concept of the deck is to get your Curliers and your Gardevoirs set up as quickly as possible. So we will take the extra draw. Yeah, Iono's okay. So we'll Fog Crystal, and I'm going to be adding Mew. Let's just have a look at what's in the deck. See, I don't think I need to add Mew because I can't retreat position that well. I will probably look through a couple of times. We will add the Memory Skip Rolls. And hit Fog Crystal again to add another Rolls. We'll put the energy on. I won't worry about the Ultra Ball yet, but we will Roar the Sword. And attach another. I think this means that it's like a free attack. And then next turn, potentially we energy and knock it out. My guess is he's playing a single prize deck. That's why the Slowbro had the if you have 1 prize left. So you want to set up everything here as much as possible. Like with the Curlier, I don't mind discarding the Iono because we have the Power Pad. I may even end up playing the Iono. We have the Ultra Ball, so I might discard an Ultra Ball. The hope is to run into like Gardevoir and a Rare Candy. Very helpful. Kind of need to think about how I want to play this. Like Cresselia is probably going to be an absolute amazing finisher, so I don't really want to put too much on the bench. Drawing a Gardevoir, so say the hope will be to draw Rare Candy, get rid of an Ultra Ball, get the energy on. We can level ball for another earlier here, which means I might end up discarding. I think I'm still going to discard the Iono because we had the Power Pad. Artisan and level ball. I think Artisan just helps him a bit too much. We're attaching energy here because we can go for a knockout. Artisan is just another free Pokemon for us. Got our last ropes down. And I'll level ball now. And have the Curlier. So it kind of gives him like an inkling to Iono us. And then I'm not really too worried about losing all this, especially like with draws and things that we have. So we do only have one trainer, so I don't really want to Power Pass, we'll just attack and take a prize. Stadium would be very helpful. I think the whole game plan here, with this guy being a single prize deck, would be just to make sure that the Zacian knocks out, I'd say 2, maybe 3, just to try and get an even trade, and then maybe not worry about using Gardevior EX. Maybe just use the regular Gardevoir. Because I don't know. I don't know what this guy can do. Brilliant for draw. Okay, but I don't have V-Man. Ah, this is 160. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like he just swaps out for my Tienas quite a bit. Right, we have the Curlier, and we don't have any more rolls, so I think we can get rid of the level ball. Rare Candy is helpful, I think it's super odd. Not so much. Do I want to put anything down? Maybe I put down the... Put down Mew, because most likely Zacian's going to be getting knocked out, so I'll save the super odd. Let's... Rare Candy. And see what we draw. EX. I think it might be better to hold on to that. We'll Refinement and discard the Curlier because we more than likely now won't be using it. This card doesn't do anything because he's not playing anything. So let's pop an energy on this Gardevoir to get it relatively ready to attack next turn. I think this is going to be a second prize, so if he knocks out my Zacian, I'm okay with that. I just have to go very conscious of his Slowbro, I think it was. I'm also going to do this, so we're just drawing 2 rather than having to discard 1 and draw 2. Let's level ball. I mean, might as well add earlier, so if we do get Iono, we're not too worried. I could also just Ultra Ball. Discard VIP Pass, discard Curlier. Add Cresselia. So I was saying, I think I have to be quite cautious of his Slowpoke. I think his Mighty Energy is 160, so he can just one-hit any of these Gardevoirs that I've put up. I imagine he evolves, brings back the Mighty Energy. See, there's a Slowbro that that's what I have to go careful with. Iono's okay. We have quite a lot of draw anyway. And we hit the research. Don't really know if I'm going to be using the boss's orders for too much. So I'm getting another prize from here. I think because I've seen his Electivire, I need to put Manaphy down. And that's like first thing we do. Because this is still 100 damage with Cresselia. Like 120 was never going to take 2 anyway. Let's pop an energy on here. I think I even... do I boss up a Curlier? Might be an idea. Just to take a knockout. And limit his draw power. We'll discard this, because it does nothing. See, like, the draw power that this deck has. Like, so even if you had like one prize and your opponent Ionos you, you're drawing like 4, 6, sometimes even more than that. So you're not really too worried. Let's take the Cresselia, just in case he tries to do some weird like setup next turn. And I think I still don't really have a reason to rod, so take a third knockout here. Pretty interesting. So like we switch. Okay. Yeah, about like more Zoro stuff. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I think it was just going to get to a point where I was able to knock out a Pokemon each turn because of how much that I'd set up. Single prize decks can be very difficult to play against. I think the big part of it with his Mighty Unit was being VMAX, and we don't play any VMAX, so it was never going to be free. He would have always had to be putting reversal energies on there. But hopefully that guys gave you sort of like a little bit of an outline of what the deck does. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, please put anything below. If you think there's another card I should be playing, if you can't see why I am playing a particular card, so any questions, always appreciated. I'm still working on trying to make this as good as possible. I think it can still be maybe a little bit better, but I always think that Pokemon's a little bit situational. It depends what you come up against. So I could make this deck like absolutely insane against Mew, but then if I come up against Lugia, it might not work. On the flip side, I could make it really, really good against Lugia, and then if I come up against Mew, it doesn't work. So I think it's just a real good balance. I don't think it has any particularly bad matchups at the moment. I've come up against a lot of the Chim-Pao. I've come up a lot against Lugia, and I've come up against the Mew Fusion Strike quite a bit. Decks that I haven't really seen too much of is the Mirror Match. People don't seem to be playing this, and I'm not 100% sure why. And kind of like the Lunatone Zoroark was something that you saw like loads of at lower ranks, but not so much now that the game's been out for out of the beta for a week or so. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.